My, oh my, what a world we live in. What a world we live in where women can be blamed for men not being able to get their dicks wet. My, oh my. This article here has been making the rounds. Well, it's an opinion piece in the Helsingin Sanomat, it's a newspaper here in Finland. And the whole thing just reads like something straight out of an incel's diary. It's trying to play devil's advocate for how government and society should help men get laid because they're finding it harder and harder and harder to get laid. It's some of the worst writing I've ever seen, even though it's a translation. I know a lot of Finnish people who are really, really upset at this because it is, once again, trying to put the onus on women to make men's lives easier. And it's just not their job. It's just not their job. And if there is, and this isn't mentioned in the article at all, but if there is a reason that maybe women aren't as sexually active as they once were, or are, less willing to give it up or whatever, it's probably because they're more educated than the men in this country, and they are pursuing careers more often than they have before. So there are a lot of social factors, yes, but there are also a lot of personal factors, such as these men being drunk boors who think they have all of this charm and all of this wit and this winning personality. So why shouldn't I be able to find a partner? Well, maybe because you haven't looked in the mirror long enough sober to realize that you are the problem. If you can't get laid, you are the problem. Not the woman, not society, not the government, not anybody, not the man who stole your woman from you. You fucking simple-minded prick, all right? It's you. And to try to blame anybody else is just fucking dystopian. But that's kind of where we are, because there is a lot of violence against women precisely because sometimes the man doing all the violence just couldn't get laid. Elliot Rodger, the guy in Canada, a bunch of other shootings that have happened by incels that I can't remember because there are just so many fucking shootings out there, you know? So many fucking shootings, so I can't remember all of them. But violence does stem from this. And it's just so fucking dystopian. And we have people like idiots like Jordan Peterson who have PhDs, and they leverage those PhDs against the people who listen to them as some sort of authority. So they start to entertain notions like, maybe women should be doing more. Maybe women should be doing it more. Maybe the government should step in. Everybody's fault but the man's, right? Men are so much better than women. Men get paid more because, they're so much more, they're so much more important to society, but they go postal when they can't get laid, Once again, men are a lot more fragile than they like to pretend they're not, especially the ones who think like this guy, who think, that just because there is like a big, there's like an unequal distribution of sexual partners, which is like the biggest red flag in this, or the first biggest red flag. More and more young men are left without a sexual partner altogether. But some men have more and more partners during their lifetime. One reason for sexual loneliness is the uneven distribution of sexual partners. And this guy even goes to use the Gini coefficient, which is used to measure income inequality in countries, and says it's found that sexual partners are as unequally distributed in Western countries as wealth is, measured by the Gini coefficient in the most unequal countries. Okay, yeah, so he went there even and tried to say that this problem is because sexual partners are unequally distributed. And I see that and I'm thinking, okay, so what's your solution? What's your solution to this? That more and more women are leaving Finland, if not for the violence, but because they won't pay. Like, especially nurses. Nurses are going to Norway, where they actually fucking respect nurses, where they don't force them to go to work if they strike, right? So if there is some kind of unequal distribution of sexual partners in the Western world, or in Finland specifically, it may be because Finland has become more hostile than ever towards women, not just on the street, but in the workplace. And who's doing anything about it? What's the government doing about it? What are politicians doing about it? What's the public doing about it? What are men doing to make themselves more attractive? What are men doing to make themselves appear less desperate, less stupid, less drunkenly absurd when they go out to the bar and they try to, find someone to hook up with, or even a partner long term? What are you doing, guys? Why do we have to hear shit like this that, women? Okay, you want to see something else that's just totally fucking horrible about this? Where's the part where he talks about Tinder? Yeah. In recent years, Tinder and other dating apps have theoretically improved the chances of finding a partner. In reality, however, those who are already wanted will do well in the applications. For women, applications can give almost unlimited possibilities for choosing a partner. The average man can get rejected on dating apps more times in one night than men of the previous generation did in their entire lives. Okay. This guy's a fucking PhD, and he went there. He used the Tinder argument. I looked at someone's OkCupid inbox or a woman's OkCupid inbox or their Tinder inbox, and they got all these messages, and it's so unfair. Have you read these messages? Do you know the content of a lot of these messages? It's just perverted bullshit. It's just swill. Men trying to get laid. Men objectifying women. Just because women get more messages, that does not mean that the messages are of a higher quality. And you're a PhD. You're a man of intellect. And you what the fuck? You see how far down people have to dig in order to implicate women as a problem in men's loneliness? How far down they have to dig, how stupid they have to make themselves look by posting drivel like this to the internet? You should be fucking embarrassed, Joona Räsänen. You should be fucking embarrassed by this. Again, quantity does not equal quality. The lack of sex in relationships is connected to many social problems. According to research, young men's bitterness and misogyny are rampant, especially where competition for women is fierce and men have great difficulty finding a partner. Talking about competition. It's sex is just this competitive thing. You get someone in bed and you have perfunctory 5 seconds of sex and you get your nut and you walk out the door. If you look at sex that way, and you're finding it hard to believe that you're not finding any long-term partners who will have sex with you, you're really fucking dumb, okay? Sex is not always just a perfunctory sort of thing. It's not just a hookup thing. There are some women who, if you can believe it, men, actually want more than just a pump and a pump and dump or whatever they call it. They want more. You need to bring them more. You need to make yourselves more attractive. They have been having to make themselves more attractive for us forever. Whether it's the media, whether it's society, culture, what have you. All the makeup and all of the alterations and all the things that women have done to their bodies to make themselves more attractive to us men. And now, but shoes on the other foot. And once again, us men showing that we're so much more emotionally stable than women, that we're so much more mature than women. We can handle not getting laid with so much maturity. Not really, because you get drivel like this. And about a billion other incel articles all over the internet and 4chan and fucking Reddit from people who think it's everybody else's fault. Everybody else's fault. If you're walking around and it smells like shit no matter where you go, maybe you should take a look underneath your own shoe. Just maybe. Violence stemming from sexual loneliness is a real threat. When a young man cannot find a single woman to live with, he may, in extreme cases, try to find as many women as possible to die with. Sex offenders, serial killers, and school shooters often state that their motivation is a lack of sex or a partner. The United States Secret Service warned in its newly published report that violence caused by a lack of sex is an ever-growing security threat. Oh, he went there. You're throwing everything. You're lobbing all of your grenades at this fucking problem, aren't you? You're implicating security threats and oh my. Okay. Once again, I ask, what do you want other people to do about it? What should the government do about this? Other than crack down on these incels who put up all of these red flags all over the internet everywhere that, hey, I'm really pent up and aggressive and I'm going to go take it out on somebody because I can't get laid. They leave breadcrumb trails everywhere. And then we're so shocked when we find out that they killed 8 or 9 people or more. I ask again, what is the solution to this? Personally, me, if my opinion matters, the solution is the government cracking down on these incels. Right? Or somebody cracking down on these incels before they get the opportunity to take this radicalized belief that the women should be given to them and spread it all over society in the form of violence and misogyny. And so if society can do anything to rectify this problem with all of the unequal distribution of sexual partners and the loneliness and all that stuff, if society can do anything, it's men who can make themselves more presentable, who can make themselves more respectful, who can make themselves more attractive to women. But yes, absolutely, there are social factors that are making it more difficult for people to find partners. But these social factors, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad. You know, it may be bad that there are more and more people leaving Finland to find work elsewhere because they're not valued here. Finland wants workers. Finland wants nurses. They need nurses, but they just don't want to fucking pay them, so they leave. That might add to the unequal distribution because the men stay here and cut down trees or build buildings or, there's a lot more incentive for a woman to leave a country that's this violent towards them. There's a lot more incentive for a woman to leave a country that doesn't value them enough to pay them and forces them to go to work. Or takes away their collective bargaining rights by government decree. I mean, it's all right there. It's all right out there in the open. You don't have to be a fucking PhD researcher, which, again, I sincerely question the credentials of this Joona Räsänen. You don't have to be a PhD researcher to see how and why this kind of thing happens and continues to happen. This loneliness, this frustration. You can make the argument that men have just been lonely in Finland forever, just based on where Finland is located geographically, based on all of the depression, the winter that is just eternally dark, and all the drinking. If it is the fault of culture, these are things we can be looking at before we start going, okay, women, what can you do? Oh my God. So, yeah. Sexual loneliness and the resulting threat of violence should still be taken seriously. Sexual loneliness. No, the resulting threat of violence should be taken seriously. Sexual loneliness? That's an individual problem. That's an individual problem. And you've got a lot of people here in this country who fucking flat out refuse to go to therapy, to talk out their problems in a meaningful way, to talk themselves out of the mentality that their parents instilled within them, to be so disrespectful towards women, and to blame everybody else for their problems. Men, they like to position themselves as these alphas who, they're so tough and headstrong, but you bring them to their knees when you bring out the topic of something like sexual loneliness. You bring them to their goddamn knees, because then they just start talking about how it's everybody else's fault and they just look so pathetic and dumb. But then they turn around and shoot people, and then we start to fear them. And these people should not be feared, but it's unfortunate that it has to go that way. This is, again, it's not a woman's job to make you happy. It's not a woman's job to satisfy you. Period. And that's the end of that. Have a good day, folks. And fuck you, Joona Räsänen. I really would love to meet this guy and have a talk with him and just like figure out what in the living name of fuck made you, an educated man with a PhD, drop all of your common sense and subject yourself to this kind of ridicule on the internet? You might find a good, decent crowd with the incels and the losers on 4chan and 8chan and what have you, who are just trying to make life miserable for everybody else because they can't make themselves happy. But to everybody else, dude, you just look like a fucking chump. And I'm really intrigued. Really intrigued. But you're still a piece of shit. Have a good day, folks.